reach the bottom.
Okay.
Yep.
So, what do you think of what you read?
I'm really into it. Like Elias, I see a lot of myself in him. I've always had like a desire to just publish something. I've been more into writing than into music, but I've always had that like creative thing in me to like make something that came from me and just be able to show a part of my own mind to other people.
So, what did you get out of this newsletter that is new and different than what you've heard before?
Well, I got to know the people involved a lot better. Yeah, see, it was well, you definitely put a lot of work into this, and I'm really impressed. I've wanted to do something like this myself, except I just don't have that like ability to like just bring people together to do something that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm glad to be a part of this, since this is what we have now, and we can actually make something.
Yes. And how long have you been looking for something like this?
Probably since my freshman year of high school, and I'm a senior now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for a long time I was just doing stuff on my own, and it didn't really get me anywhere, but I'm still happy with what I made.
So, oh, then I guess now is a good time for you to introduce yourself to viewers of NDBaker93 as well as project participants.
Which camera should I face while doing it?
Totally up to you.
Go with this one.
Maybe switching
Yeah,
depends
and you
on your
can do
mood.
like a cool
Yes,
camera thing.
yes.
Nice. So, yeah, my name is Alec Mustafayev. I wrote a book. I've always been into writing, but like I never thought of myself as a writer initially. At first, I actually wanted to be an actor, which is still a good talent of mine. But yeah, I've always thought of like different kinds of stories that I could write. And my freshman year of high school, I just had a bunch of accumulations of ideas that just popped into my head, like over the course of many years. Where like I could put this thing in a story or this thing in a story. And like by freshman year, I just had so many ideas, small ideas accumulated in my head that I just put them all together into this one large book. Um, Personally, I look back on it, and the book. I mean, I don't dislike it, but I don't like it as much as I did when I first wrote it. I thought I was a genius. I thought I was the next Shakespeare. That's not a joke, by the way. But yeah, I'm. A lot of people actually don't know that I wrote it. Like, I get a lot. You wrote a book, but yeah. I'm writing a second book now. I've been trying to get into more like the first book I wrote was just a story. It's an entertaining story, but that's really all it is. It just entertains you. I guess the only message you can get from it is stand up for yourself. But yeah, with the newer stuff I've been writing, I've actually been trying to put more meaning into it other than just what's going on in my mind. Like some kind of belief I have. For example, this book I'm writing now has a strong anti authoritarian meaning, as well as a subtle exploration of like what it means to be human. Since the main character, she is murdered, but then her brain is against her will transported into a robot, a humanoid robot, and she's forced to live like this new identity while working for the government. Forgot to mention this is 2030 in the book. So yeah, uh, I've been exploring deeper themes, and given that I'm now a part of this, I'm really happy to be helping other people do the same with their stuff.
So, uh, so do you have any plans for what happens after graduation or anything
Um,
like that based on your book writing experience?
well, I'd like to take creative writing as a course, but first I'd have to do 2 years of regular college. So I'll probably go to CCRI, and then I'm not sure where I'll go from there.
I see. Okay. So why have you been working by yourself for so many years instead of getting together with uh, other people to form a group? I mean, apparently you sounds like you would be happier working in a group, and yet you worked by yourself for several years. What happened? Or
I certainly tried to be a part of a group. A lot of it didn't work out. For example, I presented the first few. I presented actually an entire document of my entire book to this guy who was at my school, starting up his own small business where he would produce films and such.
Mhm.
Turns out he was looking for comedy, which he probably should have told me beforehand because I had written some comedy.
Mhm.
But this book is kind of depressing when it starts out,
Mhm.
so you can see why that didn't work out. Also, I've just never really had like such a social skill to like just bring people together. Like, let's do this idea that I have. So,
Mhm. Mhm. I see. Why do you say that?
um, well, I've given it tries before. I've been canceled on a lot. I guess I could get into this one thing I did in middle school, seventh grade.
Mhm.
This is the first story I ever wrote, and I love this story not because it's good, but because it's so horrible. It's like an artifact. Like
Mhm.
this belongs in an actual museum of things that are horrible
Mhm.
because it's that bad. Um, so here's how the story goes. There's a middle school. See, as you can see, I went far from where I was at. Yes, so I was a middle school student writing about this story about this middle school with four friends. All these characters were based on me and three other friends who I wanted to be in the show.
Mhm.
Um, except this middle school is for video game characters, rather descendants of video game characters. For example, one character which I based myself on, and as you can clearly see by the way he's written, I was an egomaniac because he's the most like, well, at least he's attempted to be written as a really cool character.
Mhm.
He's descended from he's basically an Assassin's Creed character, but
Mhm.
as a middle schooler. Another one, he goes by Immortal Elf. Basically, he's a combination of Link from The Legend of Zelda, and except he has this ability. In Super Mario, there's this star you can get, which makes you invincible for a short amount of time, and that's basically his power.
Mhm.
Then there's another one who's Hogboom. He's actually not interesting at all, other than that I just wrote him to be really smug.
Mhm.
Every time he makes a certain point and someone says, "Oh, you're right," he's like, "Of course I'm right."
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Also, he has a portal gun from the game Portal. And lastly, there's Arash, who he's just a Minecraft character. There's really nothing else about him.
So, how is that related to the question?
Well, I mentioned in the beginning I had three friends. I was going to be YouTube bro in this YouTube show that I wanted to make,
Mhm.
and my three friends were gonna play the other characters,
Mhm.
and it simply could not work. Like a lot of like they all told me they'll be a part of it, but it did not work out at all.
Mhm.
Like as like I wanted to make it so much, but it we just couldn't get together and make this.
I
We
see.
didn't have the means. We didn't have props.
I see.
We didn't really have the motivation either.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, so where do you get your motivation? Because you seem like you have a whole lot to offer than the average person, especially for YouTube purposes. So where do you get the extra energy that other people do not normally have?
By energy you mean motivation, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, I actually wish I knew. I don't know if my brain just works this way where I get suddenly motivated and then unmotivated, or if there's certain factors that like I experience but don't realize I do that then end up causing me to get motivated. But when I get motivated, it's usually just random. Like I'll just be sitting around doing what I usually do, nothing, and then I'll suddenly like, hey, I could do some work right now.
I see.
So like I'll write a few pages of my book, or I have this one YouTube channel now that I
Mhm.
run. One time I actually got so motivated that I subtitled an entire video manually,
Mm.
which if you've ever done that, that's one of the most boring things you can ever do.
Mm. I see.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So How many subscribers do you have now?
27.
27.
Yes,
And
PewDiePie is next.
how can we search for it?
Oh, it's spelled Kermit, but with an exclamation point instead of an I. I should preface, if you're like easily offended, don't watch these, or if easily shocked as
I see.
well. Yeah.
So in that case, what do you think of RI4C TV and what you saw of it so far?
Honestly, Jerison, I actually met him like this. He just has this one skill that I wish I had, which is like he can just walk up to someone,
Mm-hmm.
and within like a minute, he's like your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And like he has like a similar, like at times he has a similar sense of humor to me,
Mm-hmm.
which is one reason why we got along so well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love how like just seeing that on camera unfold, like a complete stranger going from being a friend, from stranger to friend, like on camera in like a few minutes. It's really interesting to watch.
I see. So do you have a name for such power?
I mean, I wish I did, but I guess it's just
What would you call this
I'd
power?
I'd call it just being like having really good, being like really well with getting along with people socially.
Okay.
I guess there should be a word for that.
Okay. So since you're going to be a writer, or since you're a writer, you should have a way with words, right?
Yeah.
Would you be able to help me to name, to give that, to give it a shorter name so that it's easy for us to refer to that
Sure.
skill?
I guess a start would probably be looking at, like, a lot of English words are made like, oh, there was a Greek word that meant this. Like this is a bad word to be the first one that comes to my mind. But suicide. Like they took older words and put them together into newer ones. For example, sua means you and side means kill. So they put those together into suicide, which means kill yourself. So yeah, I guess we can make it some way like that. Like look at older words and put them together into something like this.
Could you do it?
There's a computer right here.
No, from your mind. Could you
From
do
my
it
mind.
right off the bat right now?
I wish.
What is a way to describe that skill within 1 or 2 words?
The only word that really comes to my mind is connection.
Connection.
Yeah, because one thing I've been noticing recently, especially, is that um, when you're around certain people, especially that you're comfortable around, there's sometimes like a subconscious connection, almost like you're communicating without saying anything.
What do you think of besides Jason's, beside me? What do you think of the people that you saw associated with our group that you knew of from watching I4CTV so far?
I haven't met them, but I'd honestly like to. They seem really interesting, and I see a lot of myself in them, especially when it comes to the things I'd like to do.
What if I told you that our group, I4CTV and NDBaker93 and Caribou, our group has the power to give you the connections, the connection skills that you love to have in a hurry?
I already believe that, like, as like we met on Wednesday and it's Friday. But yeah, I already believe that, like, as soon as we started talking about this, I really got that feeling. And I'd honestly like
Feeling what?
Like I got that feeling like you guys can definitely help me do what I want to do. And
what do you want to do?
Yeah, like you just said, connections to help me further my career in writing.
To develop your
Yes.
To help you develop your connection skills.
Yes.
Okay. What if we started right now?
That'd be excellent. And of course, I would return the favor in any way I can.
Okay. um, the favor that you could do to help us is to pay it forward.